Hello dear aspirants, welcome back to our YouTube channel Food Tech Online. Today also we'll be covering another set of MCQs related to food science and technology for ICAR-PG, and this will be our set number 5. So let's begin. Before we start with the MCQs, let me quickly remind you about the ebook ICAR-PG Food Science and Technology, which has some important features like the food chemistry and nutrition, food microbiology, food products technology, and food engineering. All these course subjects are given in detail, and it will be very helpful for the competitive exams like the ICAR as well as the other food related exams. So the contact number and the link for the ebook is given in the description box. Please go through it. Question number 1. Refractometer is used to measure. Options are option A acid to bricks ratio, option B acidity, option C TSS, and option D water activity. Correct answer is option C TSS. So TSS is the total soluble solids, and these are solids which are present in the fruit in the form of dissolved sugars, organic acid, and other soluble compounds. So refractometer is an instrument which is based on the principle of index of refraction. So a prism is present inside where the light travels to the test sample, and the ratio of angle of incidence to the angle of refraction determines the amount of solid present. So it is shown on the scale which ranges from 0 to 100, 0 determining 0 solids and 100 determining maximum amount of solids. It finds its application in the industry where the fruit juices, the honey sample, or the sugar syrup, the concentration of these has to be measured. The other options such as the acidity can be determined using pH, that is the hydrogen ion concentration, using a pH meter, or using titration. Different types of titration can be done, which can be the redox titration or the other titrations. The water activity is measured using a water activity meter, and then acid to bricks ratio, uh, it is not measured using any instrument, but it is the ratio. Question number 2. Which of the following is the strongest bond? Options are option A ionic bond, option B covalent bond, option C hydrogen, and option D van der Waals forces of attraction. Correct answer is option A ionic bond. Now ionic bond are the strongest bond, and it is formed with a strong electrostatic interaction between the atoms by a gain and loss of an electron. For example, sodium chloride. The second is the covalent bond. These are formed by the sharing of electrons or overlapping of the electrons in the orbital of the two atoms. For example, hydrogen atom, which is present in the water molecule. Third is the hydrogen bond. It is formed when a strong electronegative atom comes near the hydrogen atom. It shares the partial positive charge and neutralizes it, and thus forming a hydrogen bond. The van der Waals forces of attraction is the weakest of all, and it is the sum of the attractive and repulsive electrical forces between atoms and molecules. The ionic bonds are stronger than the covalent bond in vacuum conditions, because sometimes the covalent bond can also be stronger when there is an aqueous medium, as the ionic bond will dissociate. So here normally the strongest bond is the ionic bond, but if it is in the aqueous medium, then the correct answer would be covalent bond. Question number 3. Dash is used to extend the shelf life of fruits and vegetables. Options are option A ethylene, option B calcium carbonate, option C gibberellic acid, and option D smoke. The correct answer is option C gibberellic acid. So gibberellic acid is a growth hormone, and it plays a vital role in generation and cell proliferation or the multiplication. So when it is there present in the plant, it helps the plant to grow and mature and give the flowers. So it is normally applied to extend the shelf life as a coating during the storage. So it reduces the soluble protein and sugar, and thus decreases the action of the enzymes such as polyphenol oxidase and peroxidases, and reduces the oxidation or oxidative changes. and thus it extends the shelf life. The other options such as the ethylene and smoke, these are the ethylene is also an hormone, and smoke together, these promote the ripening. The calcium carbonate is not any additive, but the calcium carbonate is an additive which is used as a raising agent in baking industry. Question number 4. Moisture content for paddy storage is less than dash for the grain storage and less than dash for long-term seed preservation. Options are option A 14 and 9%, option B 9 and 14%, option C 14 and 12%, option D 12 and 9%. Correct answer is 14% and 12%. So the moisture content for the paddy has to be less than 14% for the grain storage, that is the rice, and less than 12% for the long-term preservation of the seed. That is, it has to be less than 12%. So here the correct option is option C, 14% and 12%. Question number 5. Parboiling of paddy increases its, options are option A vitamins, option B minerals, option C both, option D none. Correct answer is option C both. So parboiling is nothing but a partial boiling of the paddy, or in specific terms it is not exactly boiling but the steaming of the paddy, and this process is done before milling, and it increases the nutritional value, and it also changes the texture of the rice after milling. It also reduces the breakage of the paddy during milling. It increases the resistance to insect and fungi. So the vitamins and minerals which are present in the bran and aileron layer, they seep out into the endosperm during the parboiling process, and thus it increases the vitamin and mineral content. It increases the vitamins like the B vitamins, which is the water soluble vitamins, and minerals like calcium, phosphorus and iron. Question number 6. Which of the following is a non-Newtonian fluid? Options are option A fruit juice, option B tomato ketchup, option C water, option D all. Correct answer is option B tomato ketchup. So basically we have to understand what are Newtonian and non-Newtonian fluids. Newtonian fluids are those which has a viscosity that does not depend on the applied stress, whereas the non-Newtonian fluids are which where the viscosity is independent of the stress rate. So some examples are, for example, the tomato ketchup is a non-Newtonian fluid. That means if you apply pressure, then only it will start free flowing. Otherwise, the fruit juice and water that does not require any pressure, they can free flow on its own. Question number 7. Tomato ketchup is a dash. A Bingham fluid, pseudoplastic fluid, rheopectic fluid, or all. And the correct option is option B, pseudoplastic. So there are two types of fluids, the Newtonian and non-Newtonian fluid. Newtonian fluid is the one where irrespective of the stress, it is free flowing. For example, water and the fruit juices. Whereas the non-Newtonian fluids are having a very broad category, and depending upon the time and stress it is being applied, the behavior of the fluids changes. So there are basically 5 types of non-Newtonian fluids. The first one is the pseudoplastic. It is also called a shear thinning fluid. It exhibits the decrease in the viscosity as the shear rate is increased. That means when the pressure is being applied, the viscosity decreases. For example, paint and ink. The other category is shear thickening or the dilatants. It exhibits the increase in the viscosity as the shear rate increases. For example, water and a cornstarch slurry. Third category is the Bingham plastic. Now this category, the fluid behaves as a solid until some pressure is being applied. For example, toothpaste. Then we have the thixotropic fluids where there is decrease in the viscosity when some stress is being applied. But once the stress is being removed, it come back to the original viscosity. The rheopectic are opposite of the thixotropics, where the viscosity is increased when the stress is being applied, but when it is removed, when the stress is removed, it come back to the original viscosity. Question number 8. The quality of egg is checked by options are option A water activity meter, option B candling process, option C sense process, option D all. And the correct answer is option B the candling process. The candling of an egg is done inside a very dark room where a bright light is used to determine the egg quality. The eggs are passed through a bright light which makes it possible to observe inside of the egg where you can see the growth and development of an embryo, and it also detects the bloody spots, blood whites or the meat spots. Since the infertile eggs are normally marketed, the embryo inside don't grow. So we can remove these type of eggs where the embryo is growing. So the fertile eggs can be removed. So our option is the candling process. This is a very convenient method because without breaking the egg, we can check the quality from the outside. Question number 9. Wax coating of fruits and vegetables is done to, options are A to increase shelf life, option B impart glossiness, option C prevent surface dehydration, option D all. And the correct answer is option D all of the above. So wax coating of fruits and vegetable is a very convenient method where the wax coating seals the tiny pores on the surface of the fruits and vegetable. It prevents the dehydration and the weight loss in fruit. It also prevents the surface injuries and gives glossiness to the fruit. It also preserves the color and appearance and also gives the firmness. So our option is all of the above. Question number 10. Black bread mold, which is also called as Rhizopus stolonifer, is a widely distributed mucorrheian mold found on bread surfaces. And the options are option A thread-like, option B botted, option C both, option D none. And the correct answer is option A thread-like structures. So black bread mold is widely distributed in the form of thread-like structures. So it is a characteristic of the mold that it develops in thread-like structures, and it is found on the bread surfaces. Question number 11. Instant coffee is packaged in, options are option A aluminum foil, option B PET, option C aluminum plus PET, option D PP, which is polypropylene. So here the PET refers to polyethylene terephthalate, which is also called as PET. Then PP refers to the polypropylene. So here our correct answer will be option C aluminum plus PET. Now the PET, which is also called as polyethylene terephthalate or the PET, it is uh, it is the plastic film or the polyethylene film which is aluminized or it is metallized. So the properties of aluminum are it gives the barrier properties to oxygen or to the various flavors or the smells or to the other gases. And the PET gives strength to the material or the strength to the packaging material. So if we are combining the both, that is aluminum plus PET, then it gives high strength surface hardness and also resistance to the oxygen as well as the other soluble gases. Thus, the instant coffee, which is normally prepared by a decoction and decoction of the coffee and then drying it to a fine powder, it is susceptible to agglomeration or the lump formation if it is exposed to humidity or oxygen. It can lose its characteristic flavor and aroma, and thus it has to be packaged well. So aluminum plus PET is the ideal option for the packaging. So our correct option is aluminum plus PET. It is also called as metallized PET or metallized PET. Question number 12. Which of the following is an ethylene scavenger? Options are option A calcium carbonate, option B potassium permanganate, option C potassium chloride, option D none. And the correct answer is option B potassium permanganate. Now potassium permanganate oxidizes and absorbs the ethylene to form the water, manganese oxide and potassium and carbon dioxide. So ethylene is an ripening agent or it is the only hormone which is responsible for the ripening. So to control the ripening in fruits and vegetables, we can use potassium permanganate as a ethylene scavenging agent. Question number 13. Mineral water is packaged in. Options are option A PE, that is polyethylene, option B PET, that is polyethylene terephthalate, option C aluminum plus PET, and option D PP, which is polypropylene. So here our correct option is PET, that is the polyethylene terephthalate. There are different properties why this material is used. The PET bottles are having high rigidity and hardness that can hold the water, and this is easy for the transportation. Thus, the PET bottles are used. They also has a good chemical resistance, so mineral water won't react with this material. The other materials such as the aluminum plus PET, this type of laminate is specially used where you want barrier properties from the aluminum and the strength properties from the PET. For example, if you are packing the coffee pouches or the coffee in the pouches, then this type of material can be used. The polyethylene, this is used where this doesn't have much of the strength as compared to the other plastic, but this can be used as an internal layer along with the other laminating material. Polypropylene is also a good material, but it is semi-rigid, so it is also not good in the packaging of the water. Question number 14. Carrageenan is extracted from. Options are option A red seaweed, option B blue seaweed, option C green seaweed, and option D algae. And the correct answer is option A red seaweeds. Now carrageenan is a hydrocolloid which is produced by red algae, and the characteristic species is the Chondrus cypris. Now seaweeds are nothing but algal growth which grows along the seashores or at the bottom of the sea, or the solid structures which are present under the sea. Now seaweeds contain a lot of nutritional profile, so it has a lot of vitamins and minerals such as the vitamin B12, iron, iodine, and calcium, etc. Now different seaweeds gives different types of gums. So the green seaweed will give different type of gum. Here the specific carrageenan is extracted from only the red seaweeds. Question number 15. The hardening of the surface during the drying is regarded as. Option is option A dry surface, option B hard surface, option C case hardening, and option D none. And the correct answer is option C, the case hardening. Now, during a drying process or a drying cycle, there are four stages. Specifically, the initial stage where the drying of the surface is done. So, the free moisture which is available on the surface is removed initially. In the second phase, the internal moisture comes to the surface and then it is removed. In the third stage, it is a constant drying period where some of the bound moisture is removed. So if the temperature is not given gradually, and if it is given suddenly, or a very high temperature is given at the initial stage, then what happens? The surface will dry faster and the internal moisture will be trapped inside. So there is a hardening of the surface, which is referred to as case hardening. So normally a gradual temperature has to be given, gradually increasing temperature has to be given during the drying process. Otherwise, the surface will be dry faster. The internal moisture will be trapped inside, which can lead to mold growth uh, once the product is done. Question number 16. The thickness of starch paste is due to. Options are option A amylose, option B amylopectin, option C dextrin, option D amylase. And the correct answer is option B amylopectin. Now starch generally comprises of two components, mainly the amylose and amylopectin, but the amylose is not soluble in cold water and it does not readily form the gel unless it is heated. In contrast, the amylopectin is more water soluble, and when dissolved it raises the viscosity of the water when even the temperatures are around 60 degrees Celsius. So the thickness of the starch base is mainly due to the amylopectin even in the cold conditions or when the temperatures are not much higher. Question number 17. Chemical that reduces the surface tension is options are option A preservative, option B emulsifiers, option C stabilizers and option D humectant. Correct answer is option B emulsifiers. Emulsifiers are the substances which help in the stabilization and formation of the emulsion by reducing the surface tension. For example, if you want to mix oil and water, which is naturally not soluble into each other, then if you add the emulsifier, they will properly mix into each other. And this is non-water soluble component. Whereas the stabilizers are water soluble component and they also will keep the mixture from separating. For example, if you're trying to mix cornstarch and water, the cornstarch being a heavy powder will settle down. So if you add the stabilizer, then the mixture will be in a slurry form and the heavy particles won't settle down. Humectants are the substances which are added to fine powders to avoid the lump formation. And preservatives are used to extend the shelf life of the foods. Question number 18. Which of the following is responsible for the umami taste? Options are option A aspartic acid, option B citric acid, option C butyrate, option D glutamate. And the correct answer is option D glutamate. Now glutamate is an amino acid which is responsible for the umami taste. Now umami taste is not a very pleasant taste by itself, but it elicits or it increases the other taste and increases the palatability of the overall foods. It is widely used as a sodium salt of the glutamate and commonly called as monosodium glutamate, also called as MSG, and it finds its application in the processed foods like the noodles or the tomato sauce or the other soy sauce, etc. It is naturally available in tomatoes or the processed or the aged cheese, onions, broccolis, peas, beetroots, etc. Now, umami is one of the taste uh, from the other taste like the sour taste, sweet taste, bitter taste, uh, and the other options like the aspartic acid, citric acid, these gives the sour taste. Even the butyrate also gives a sour and tangy taste. Question number 19. The functional foods that aids in the prevention and treatment of diseases is called as option is option A pharmaceuticals, option B nutraceuticals, option C medical food, option D all of the above. And the correct answer is option B nutraceuticals. Now nutraceutical is regarded as a functional food. That means it is a normally food which we consume, but it is specifically prepared or some part is extracted from it which has some medicinal properties. For example, the turmeric. Now turmeric has a component called as curcumin which can be used for the prevention and treatment of some kind of diseases. The other example can be the resveratrol, which is a pigment found in grapes which act as an antioxidant. So if we extract resveratrol from the grapes, then it act as a functional food which can be termed as nutraceutical. Now, how this is different from pharmaceutical is the pharmaceutical is specifically to the dosage, where the dosage is given for a particular type of disease and it is regarded for its treatment. So it is in very concentrated form and it is specifically given in the form of pills or it can be given in the form of intravenous injections, etc. So pharmaceutical is regarded as a tablet or the components where the component is highly concentrated, and nutraceutical is nothing but the common food which we consume but for a specific cause. Question number 20. Fat bloom in chocolate is caused by option A dehydration of the surface, option B high temperature, option C both, option D none. Correct answer is option B high temperature. So fat bloom is a type of defect observed in chocolates due to the presence of cocoa butter which has a very low melting point. So if the chocolate is not stored at proper temperatures or the temperature fluctuation is there, then the cocoa butter melts at a faster rate than the other components. It will migrate on the surface and it will be deposited in the form of white spots which are visually unappealable to the consumer. So this type of defect is not injurious to health. We can still consume the chocolate. So to avoid this problem, normally the companies temper the chocolate. Now tempering is a method where the fat which is present, like the cocoa butter or the palm oil which is present, it is heated and cooled down repeatedly so that it properly mixes with the other component and will not migrate during the storage. So tempering can be an option to avoid such type of problems. Question number 21. Respiratory quotient of protein is, options are option A zero point 0.5, option B zero point 0.9, option C zero point 0.7, option D 1. Correct answer is option B 0.9. Respiratory quotient is nothing but the ratio of volume of carbon dioxide expelled to the volume of oxygen absorbed during cellular respiration. Depending upon the substrate which is being consumed, this ratio will change. It is used in the calculation of basal metabolic rate. So depending upon the substrate, for example, the fats, the proteins or the carbohydrates, this value will change. Here the value for protein is 0.9, for carbohydrates it is 1, for fats it is 0.7, and for the organic acid it is above 1. Question number 22. Sugar bloom in chocolate is caused by, options are option A high sugar content, option B moisture on the surface, option C both, option D none. And the correct answer is moisture on the surface. Sugar bloom is a defect which is commonly observed in the chocolates. This is due to when the sugar crystals are affected by high moisture. When the chocolate is stored at temperatures or at very damp conditions or where the humidity is high, the moisture will condense on the surface during the refrigeration, and this causes the sugar in the chocolate to dissolve in this water and crystallize on the surface. This will give a cottonish white appearance to the chocolate, which can be mistaken for any mold growth. So sugar bloom has to be avoided by maintaining proper humidity and refrigeration condition in the chocolate storage. Question number 23. Mass transfer process through the extraction of a substance from a solid material that has come into contact with the liquid is called as, options are option A sublimation, option B expression, option C comminution, option D leaching. Correct answer is option D leaching. So here our correct option is leaching, where a substance when it comes in when a solid substance come in contact with the liquid, some part of it will dissolve, and this mass transfer is called as the leaching. Some solids will leach out into the liquid. The other options such as sublimation, it is a process wherein there is a conversion of solid to directly into gaseous state. For example, frozen carbon dioxide, which is also called as dry ice, when it comes in contact with the air, it will directly go into the gaseous state. The comminution is a process by which uh, we are reducing the particle size. So this can be achieved by comminution processes such as the crushing, grinding, cutting, or by vibration. Question number 24. Aspartame, an artificial sweetener, is made up of, options are option A aspartic acid and valine, option B aspartic acid and phenylalanine, option C aspartic acid and histidine, option D aspartic acid and alanine. Correct option is option B aspartic acid and phenylalanine. Both the terms, that is the aspartic acid and phenylalanine, are the amino acids which are naturally occurring acids in our body. So this is made up of, the aspartame is the compound which is made up of aspartic acid as well as phenylalanine along with the methyl group. So when phenylalanine is slightly modified using a methyl group, it imparts a very sweet taste. So aspartame is an artificial sweetener which is obtained using this method, where it is approximately 200 times sweeter than the normal table sugar. It is normally used as a low calorie artificial sweetener, and normally it is used in dairy products, sweets, gummies or chewing gums. Question number 25. The deterioration of fat due to oxidation and hydrolysis is called as options are option A denaturation, option B decomposition, option C rancidity, and option D saponification. Correct answer is option C rancidity. The rancidity is a process of complete or incomplete oxidation or hydrolysis of fat and oils when exposed to drastic conditions of air, light, or moisture, or it can be bacterial action also. And this causes the changes in the taste of oils and fats. It will give a very unpleasant odor and taste. The denaturation is a process of modifying the molecular structure of the protein. The decomposition is the breaking down of the dead tissue into the simpler organic forms. And saponification is a process specially observed in the fats where there is hydrolysis of the esters to form the alcohol and salts of carboxylic acid. It is also called as soap forming property or the reaction of the fats into a metallic alkali with the fat. With this, we have completed all the 25 questions for this session for the MCQs. Also, please join our app FoodTech Online, which will prepare you for the competitive exams like the GATE exam or the FSSI exam. It covers all the major subjects which are related to food technology, namely the food processing, food chemistry, food microbiology, and food engineering. So the link is given in the description box. So please join our app. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe our YouTube channel as well as join us on our social media accounts. The links are given in the description box.